Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter. This is our study group for May 16th, 2024. This is our 120th study group, and we are so excited to get to this milestone. Tonight, we're going to begin our third series through the BABOK for the certifications. This is going to be the beginning of our BABOK study group. Tonight, we're going to set expectations and talk about what it takes to take the certification tests, who's going to take which test, and the structure of our classes here. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the IIBA president of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter and the vice president of career and professional development. If you have any questions, please contact me through LinkedIn and I'll do my best to help you. We do have quite a number of people that watch us live, and then we have other people that watch by recording. So this is available to you regardless of how you reached us. If you're watching this and you need assistance, you're welcome to reach out to me through LinkedIn. We are a volunteer-led organization. We have our Vice President of Membership and Marketing, Cliff Gray, our Vice President of Finance, Yulia, and our board members at large, Uche, Vivian, Esther, and Alicia. They help us keep going. They help us do the good work. We are here to raise you up. We have a worldwide audience, which I'm very happy to tell you. We have people that watch us in Africa and other countries that this is the middle of their night. Some of them watch us live, but most of them watch by recording. And we're very happy that everyone is able to participate and be a member of this organization. If you don't have a chapter and you want to join the IIBA, either join your local chapter for networking purposes or come join our chapter. We are happy to help you and support you and be a family to you. We've given you quite a number of ways to reach us. This is our normal Thursday night study group from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have 2 LinkedIn groups. We have Meetup, we have Zoom. This is our new Zoom link if you haven't seen it before. We had to change Zooms. We also have a Google Drive that has our study group materials. It has a lot of information. I'm going to show it to you in a few minutes. We have meetings recorded on YouTube. We have over 100. And then we have our IIBA website for our chapter. We typically focus on the BABOK study certifications. That is the ECBA, the CCBA, and the CBAP. There are 4 other certifications. If you want more information about any of these, you're welcome to reach out to me. We like to celebrate our wins. We have, in fact, we just got one the other day and I don't have it on here. The people that have reached out to say this study group helped them pass their certifications. I'm so pleased when we get that because that's what we're here for. We don't charge money for our study groups. We don't charge money for anything we do. We are here to help people. So if we have helped you, if we have been beneficial to you, please reach out and let us know. It's what feeds us. We have some study group advisors. These are our people that have committed to participating in our study group so that the rest of us get our 1 hour of education credit. Bob, Yulia, Esther, and Uche are the advisors that have committed, and we really appreciate them. I want to draw attention to Bob's website here, rpchurchill.com. I'm going to show that to you in just a few minutes, but it has a lot of really great information in it beyond just business analysis. Watermark Learning has given us a discount code for any of their products, business analysis, product management, and more. It is Tampa 21. It is 20% off of any of their products, and we do appreciate that. So we're going to go straight into the BABOK certification course. What are we talking about? We have committed that we're going to provide education so that you can take your certification. Now, which certification you're going to take, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But our goal is for you to be able to take your certification in November. We've got people in the Philippines, people in Ireland, and people all across the United States. We're committing to November of this year. So this is what we're going to be talking about. Let's start with the 3 certifications. The ECBA is the entry certificate. That's the word. Entry certificate in business analysis. And the CCBA is the Certification of Capability in Business Analysis. The Certified Business Analyst Professional is what we call the CBAP. That's kind of the gold standard. It means that you are excellent at being a business analyst. And I've got some links that I can give you for each of these so that you can get a handbook on the things that it takes to be able to apply for each of these. So who's going to take which certification? If you are going to take the ECBA, what is required of you? You don't have any work requirements. You are a beginner. You don't have anything that you have to show that you have experience. However, the work requirements for the CCBA are a little more stringent. We're talking about 3 years of experience in the last 7 years. Of those 3 years of experience, you need to have a minimum of 900 hours in 2 of the 6 knowledge areas. The knowledge areas are basically chapters, or 500 hours in 4 of the 6 knowledge areas. For the CBAP, for the more experienced people, we're talking about you need to have about 5 years of documentable experience. And it's going to ask you how many hours did you work in each project for each of these knowledge areas. So it's important you understand the knowledge areas, and it's important that you also are able to say, for this project, I spent 40% of my time in this and 20% of my time in this. And they don't want to the minute hours. They want a rough guesstimate of how many hours you worked by project. And you can bunch projects together if they're similar. I'll be glad to work with you. There's a worksheet a template to do this. For the CBAP, you have to have the 5 years of experience within the last 10 years and 900 hours in 4 of the 6 knowledge areas. I would encourage you to exceed 900 hours by a bit. Go ahead and go to 1,000 hours if you can. That way there's no doubt, and that way if they audit you and they say that doesn't qualify, you still have enough to go and you're good. Now, professional development, this is the education credit we're talking about. For the ECBA and for the CBA, you need 21 hours of professional development within the last 4 years. Now, this is pretty broad. It can be business analysis or something similar. It doesn't have to be only business analysis. So if you have diagrammed processes, if you've done something that's similar to project management, communications, that type of thing, you can count that as part of this of your experience. But then whenever we're talking professional development, we're talking classes that you've taken, things you've learned on your own. There's kind of a wide breadth of things that you can do for professional development. For CBAP, on the other hand, it's not 21 hours, it's 35 hours in the last 4 years. So participating in this class is going to help you considerably. We do keep track of attendance, but you have to reach out to us and say, I need to get the list of when I attended, and it would be very beneficial and helpful to us if you could say, these are the dates that I have, please validate, and we'll send it out on our letterhead. For references for the ECBA, for the beginner level, you don't have to have references. For the CCBA and the CBAP, you do need at least 2 references. These references need to be either someone who has earned their CBAP certification or someone who is your supervisor or manager. You need to have their phone number, their email, and know that almost immediately, whenever you submit your application, it's going to send them an email, and they have about a week to respond. So they need to be aware ahead of time. They need to give you permission. They need to know that they're going to get an email that said, this is what they said that they did within these knowledge areas. Please verify that this is true. I encourage you to be honest in all of this. Now, for the BABOK certification, I'm sorry this font is a little bit small, but this tells you what kind of where you are in your knowledge of being a business analyst to be able to qualify for these. We talked about number of hours, but you also need to be at this experience level. For the ECBA, you just need a foundational knowledge, which means you've got to read the book. You've got to understand what the book says. You've got to understand and recognize the key elements of the different knowledge areas. You need to have the ability to say, this is what it says to do. This is how I execute it. For the CCBA, we're expecting that you have a lot more experience than the ECBA. We want to know that you have practice competency and skills. You've worked on some small, less complex projects. You can work on your own some, but you work typically with some kind of guidance on complex things. That you can say, hey, for this, we need to do a stakeholder analysis, or for this, we need to diagram this process, because you understand here's the problem and here's the tool that you would probably use to do it. And then for modifies rules, instead of follows rules like the ECBA, modifies rules is where you say, this is the way that we've done it in the past, but this would be a better way to do it. Let's change a little bit. Let's do it a little more agile. Let's use a Kanban board. You have ideas and you can back up your ideas with reasons. Now for the CBAP, we're expecting a lot more. We expect that you have had 5 years of experience, that you have fully developed some vital aspects of your knowledge from the BABOK in your work. The skills and knowledge have become more like second nature. We are not expecting that you know every single thing in the BABOK, because you're going to find that in your professional life, you're going to use some areas much more heavily than others. Some areas you might not use hardly at all. So you have to go through the BABOK and shore up those areas. Now, I want to say, let's finish this. With the BABOK, I'm sorry, with the CBAP, you also guide practice. You can kind of say, they came to me to ask me how they should go about doing these things. It's normal. Whenever people know that you know what you're doing, they'll come and say, I really just don't know how to approach this. How do you, what kind of things should I be looking at? So we expect that. And we also expect that you'll be able to provide insights and say, hey, you need to not forget to check on this risk, or have you checked regulatory and legal on this? Or what are we doing with finance? We're changing a field here. We've got to change in all the databases downstream. This is what we expect from a CBAP. So you look at this and figure out where you think you are. And I'm going to tell you that typically you're going to underestimate yourself. If you think that you're a CCBA, you might be a CBAP. And I'll be glad to talk you through this, but just this is their outline. So let's talk about how much it costs. I pulled these off the IIBA's website. I know that they can change their prices at any time. If anybody sees anything that's in error on this, please let me know. But I pulled off the membership fee first, because if you're a member, you get discounts. And if you look at this, you'll see that the discounts are worth paying the membership fee, and the membership fee gives you advantages and access to some other things. So as you can see, for the ECBA, if you're a member, it's going to cost you $195 to take the test. There's no application fee. They've recently waived that. For the CCBA, there is an application fee of $145, and then the exam fee for members is $250. If you're not a member, the exam fee is $405. I mean, you're saving some money if you're a member, right? And then the CBAP is very similar. The application fee is $145. The exam fee is $350 for members. There is a retake fee that I recently saw. The retake fee is somewhat discounted off the member fee. It's about 80% of it. So if you have to retake it, you can do it that way. A shout out to Adaptive US. If you take a course through Adaptive US and you don't pass the first time, they will pay your retake fee for the second and third time if you have to do it that many times. Kind of pays for taking the course if you want to go that way. Okay, there are different fees for different parts of the world. Let's see. Up here in the top, you'll see regions. These regions are what countries you live in. So based on what region you live in, you're going to have a different membership fee. Here in the United States, it's $139. If you live in Nigeria, it's going to be $55. So I have a list of the regions here. I've got US here in region 1. Here's region 2 countries, different price structure, and then region 3 countries, different price structure. So if you want me to come back to this later, I can. I don't think many of us here need it right now. BABOK certification. Whenever you take your tests, I have the good news to tell you that the ECBA says that they do not cover Chapter 6 or Chapter 8 in the test. However, I would encourage you to understand it because this kind of builds on itself. The format for the CCBA is more test questions. The CBAP is essays, like a paragraph, and then 5 or 6 questions based on that paragraph. So it's more complicated because that's the way life is. Now, I pulled this off of something that Bob shared 2 years ago. The structure of the BABOK. When we say the BABOK, just in case you don't know, this is the BABOK. It's about 500 and some odd pages of goodness. It was written about 10 years ago. It is our standard, our book of knowledge, business analysis book of knowledge is what BABOK stands for. And what it is a book that was written for an international audience. It was written pre-COVID, most of us being virtual. Some of the information is a little bit different than the way that you would do it in real life. The reason I want you to understand that is if you don't understand what the BABOK says about something, the process, the tasks, etc., you can't pass the test. You've got to understand what the BABOK says. I say you got to learn the voice of the BABOK. And it's very similar to me too when you've got a Secret Service agent that has to study a $100 bill so closely so that if they see something that's not right, if they see a counterfeit, they will know instantly it's a counterfeit. We want you to study the BABOK so closely so that whenever you see the test question answers that only one of them is right, only one of them is the best answer, we want you to know the other ones aren't right. And so it's going to make it a whole lot easier for you. So the structure of the BABOK, Chapter 1 is Introduction. The Chapter 2 is Key Concepts. Chapters 3 through 8 are the basic knowledge areas, and it's the basic flow of how it gets done. Now, I'm going to tell you that in real life, you don't do it in exactly this order. You're going to do this one, and then you're going to do this one, and do this one, then you're going to go back and do this first one again. So you got to just understand the concepts in the knowledge areas. Chapter 9 is underlying competencies. Chapter 10, there's 50 techniques. I wrote Chapter 10. I remember there's 50 techniques. There's been some updates since then, but you need to understand these techniques because all throughout the rest of the book, they talk about you're going to use a workshop. You're going to use a stakeholder analysis. You're going to use a Venn diagram, whatever. It's going to refer to those. So as we work through the different chapters, we're going to be looking at the different techniques that it talks about using. Chapter 11 is perspectives. I'd like to hear from our CBAPs here that are here. Are there any questions on perspectives in any of the tests? Do y'all remember? Maybe we just can't remember. Let me know so I can know for sure in the future. Oh, yes, Bob.
I will say one thing, and that
Yes.
is that the BABOK is written in a very general way. It's more or less in order by chapter of how you would work your way through an engagement or a project, but it mostly talks about the skills that you apply and does not tell you what order to use them. This is because every engagement is different and you can jump in and start anywhere. There are a lot of different reasons you might do projects or whatever, and the BABOK never wants to be prescriptive. It wants to give you a giant tool bag that's very general, that if you apply these tools based on your own experience and the situation, you'll do well.
I agree. And I'm going to rely on you folks that have earned your CBAP to tell us as we go through the test questions. These are practice test questions. They're not exactly what we're going to see on the test. I rely on you to tell us if this test question isn't quite right. So I'm really appreciative that you're going to be participating here. Now, this is what our test questions are going to look like. This isn't the example that we're going to start with the Watermark Learning. Watermark has graciously allowed us to have use a membership of theirs. And whenever we go in, we're going to choose the CBAP test. And then it's going to give us this screen. This screen is going to allow us to choose which knowledge area we're going to be focusing on. We're going to focus on one knowledge area at a time. That way we can see if we're doing a good job in that one knowledge area or if we need to study some more. Now, at the end of the 25 questions, we're going to be able to get a score. But what's more important is as we go through each of the test questions, I'm going to read the test question itself and read each of the answers. And we're going to talk about, number one, is there a answer that isn't right and why? Maybe they're using a word that's not even in the BABOK. Maybe they're making up something. Or maybe that's, just not the way the BABOK is. And then the other three we're going to look at and say which one of these is the best answer according to the BABOK and why. The conversation we have at that point is golden. It is what makes our working together in this come together. I've had experiences where people say, 7 people agree, and then one person says, wait a minute, that is not a task, that is a something else. And the rest of us didn't even see it. But because we had the conversation, now we can see it. So participation is really important in this, and we're going to give you a leg up in a minute. So this is the format that we're going to be working through in the practice test questions. This is the format you're actually going to see in the certification test itself. You've got the test, the 4 options, and then you can choose to answer. It's also going to give you navigation buttons, to the ability to end the test, a timer countdown, if you want to flag a question, and then the navigation buttons. So this is it's very similar to what we're working on. What we're working on is a little more colorful, but whenever we answer each of one of these, if we answer incorrectly, it's going to tell us what the correct answer is and what the incorrect answer is and why. It's also going to give us the reference of where it is in the BABOK. The BABOK is structured in such a way where it's structured such as it'll say in 3.1.1, which means chapter 3, section 1, the first area, this is what it says. So we can find exactly what it's talking about and do that reference. Now, I want to show you a few things. Let me jump out of this. First, I want to show you, we have a whole bunch of information on YouTube, and Bob has been kind enough to put on his website, rpchurchill.com. He's got the Tampa IIBA study group. This is a link to every single thing that we have on YouTube. So if you want to find something, you can find it in here. And if you scroll down, here's all of our techniques. We've done techniques like crazy.
Well,
Here
it
is
goes by week. So, back from wherever we are now, back to the beginning. And then it talks about, it links to the videos where we discuss each chapter, and then the extra chapters that are the core 6. And
right.
below that, we have gone through all the techniques twice. So I have a blog post I wrote about them all, and it goes to the thing where it says the names, or where somebody talked about that, and that jumps into the middle of a recording directly someplace. So if you want to know about a technique, you can leap right into the recording from there. And finally, down below that, all the way at the bottom, there's a list of all the guest speakers that have appeared. I rearranged it to make it a little bit cleaner. It has the date from oldest to newest down at the bottom. It has the LinkedIn link to the speaker, and occasionally some other links going to slides or presentations that are shared online or something else.
The amount of work you put into this is so immense. I really feel so much gratitude to you for doing this for us. So what we're going to do is we are going to give you the schedule. And so next week we're going to start with chapters 1 and 2. And if you want to watch what we did in the past for chapters 1 and 2, I highly recommend it. Those links are right here. And I'll drop those in the chat before we end here. But I also want you to know that after that, I'm going to ask you to go through chapter 3 and go through all 4 hours of what we've already done. That's going to give you 100 opportunities to answer test questions before you come to chapter 3 test questions with us here. So you're going to have to schedule your time. What this is going to do is it's going to equip you much better, especially if you learn with other people better than you learn on your own. Otherwise, read the book. You got to read the book, but read the book and go through and understand. Each chapter is broken up into 5 to 7 different topics. And so you got to understand what the inputs are, what the outputs are, what the tasks are, everything. Going through this is going to help you a whole lot more than you doing it on your own. So next week, again, we're going to do chapters 1 and 2. Then we're going to start with chapters 3, and I really want you to go through these. And then the week after that, we'll go to chapter 4, go through those. So plan on spending your time doing this, because this way we can all take the test, okay? So I have a few more things to show you. I talked about joining the IIBA and the benefits just with the application fee and the test fee. The IIBA has a lot of other benefits that you may not be aware of if you're not a member. I get this email that gives me links to the new things that are happening, all these opportunities to learn. If I don't do anything, they don't care. But if I do something, I get to learn, guys. It is so cool. 11,000 online books, including the BABOK. So that is all available to you. If you go to the IIBA and you're a member, you also get access to the Knowledge Hub. The Knowledge Hub has like 18 different ways to learn the BABOK. It's got high-level things. It's got things for the BABOK in different structures. Here, exploring the 6 knowledge areas. So here's chapter 3. Here's 30 tasks that are in chapter 3. You need to understand which tasks go with the different knowledge areas and which techniques go with the different knowledge areas. And then here's the other knowledge areas. We also have our Google Drive. I've dropped in Google Drive the high level for chapters 1 and 2 and chapter 3, and I'll give you the other ones as we go. This is literally access to this was what we used to use for study, the study group. We weren't allowed to teach the study group before. We only could read these things to y'all. So here's what's in chapter 1. Here's the 4 sections. Here's the introduction, key concepts. It's all laid out here at a very high level. So if you want bullet points more than you want to read paragraphs, you can go through it this way. I encourage you to still read the paragraph, but use this for your notes maybe. Then let's talk about the different tests. There are guidebooks on the IIBA website that will tell you everything you need to know about a specific test. So if you're interested in the ECBA, you've got it all here. And in fact, for instance, chapter 1, you can expand it and it will tell you more. And then going on into the other chapters that are in this particular test. Here it is for the CCBA, and here it is for the CBAP. The CBAP, as you can understand, is a little bit more involved. Here's the CBAP handbook. It says you're required to read this in its entirety. I've never known that everyone was required to read this. There's also a step-by-step guide for the application process. I don't know if that's the template or not. Let's talk about what we're looking at taking the test. We're going to spend probably the next couple of months going through the BABOK and going through techniques as much as we need. And then we're going to talk about applying for the test. We're going to go through the application template and what it's going to be like taking the test. We've got some people online with us now that have taken the test. Some of them have taken it at home. Some of them have gone to a proctored location, which means you go into a place and they check your ID, they check you in, they take your purse and your everything from you, and you go into a room. I think they give you a bottle of water, a piece of paper, and a pencil, and a calculator. And then you get a break halfway through if you want to go to the restroom. Basically, they're just being sure that you're being legit, that this information's coming out of you. So you've got to have this information totally down before you go. Our goal in taking the practice test questions is getting at least 70% on our test questions performance, because we think that that's about the passing rate. If we can get better than that, that's great. And I'm confident that if you do the studying, we can do that. You've got to be able to do it on your own. So if we can do it together, you have an idea of what you can do on your own. We have the videos on YouTube, and this is what the links that Bob created for us. So we have all of this information ready for you. I would encourage you, whenever you open up one of these, you can skip the intro if you want to, because it's pretty much the same intro every single time. The first 6-7 minutes are probably intro, and then you can go into the practice test questions. But don't just listen. Go through and try to answer the question along with us and see if you're getting the same answer everyone else is, and if the test says that you're getting the right answer or wrong answer, because we want you to be able to pass. We want to all pass together, okay? Let's see. And I already showed you Bob's thing. Yes, Bob.
Cliff uploaded all the videos to YouTube. That's his bag. I just linked to them.
So Bob gets huge credit for the linking that he did, this organization that he did. And Cliff, you have been our membership and marketing and media. I think you ought to get all three of those in your title: membership, marketing, and media. Maybe. Okay, so I've talked a whole lot, guys, and that was not really my intention. I'd like to see what questions y'all have. Does anyone have any questions about the format or what's expected of them, or maybe which test you think you should take? Is anybody on the fence?
Hi, Thea. This is Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
I was thinking of taking ECBAP, but because just it's my first time, like I haven't done anything before, so I was just thinking of starting on the beginning. Is that the wrong assumption to do, or can one jump to do another one?
Let me ask you some questions, okay? Being willing to take any of the certifications is never a bad thing. However, I am under the impression that you have been a business analyst for a while. Is that true?
Yeah,
Okay. How long have you been doing what we call business analysis?
at least 8 years.
8 years. Okay. Have you had the business analyst title?
Not until recently.
Okay. But you've been doing the job even without the title, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell you that if you've been doing the job, regardless if you've had the title or not, if you've been doing the job for 8 years, I would go ahead and jump on to the CBAP, the CBAP, because
Okay.
this test is easier than the CBAP. I admit that. This test takes an hour. It's 50 questions. It's multiple choice, and you're probably going to pass it. You're also going to spend a decent amount of money passing it. You're going to spend more money taking the CBAP. It's a much better certification professionally. It's put you in a whole different category. Honestly, having the ECBA with 8 years of experience looks like something's wrong. Go ahead and give yourself the credibility of having the CBAP certification instead. Now, you
And
can
what
do
are the
anything you want to.
requirements?
The requirements? Which requirement do you feel like you maybe don't have?
So I thought that you had to log quite a bit of information in.
Okay, okay, let's talk about the CBAP. That's what we have right here. For the CBAP, you need 5 years of experience in the last 10 years that you can log. So let's say you spent 2 years doing a specific project, and during that 2 years, you say, I spent 20% of my time working within knowledge area 1, the first knowledge area, which is your planning your business analysis activities. 20%, that's a reasonable amount, right? I spent 30% of my time eliciting requirements, different knowledge area, but what you're doing is you're chunking up your experience in 20% of 2 years of work. You can do the math and figure out how many hours that is actually giving you. And then you start dropping it into those different knowledge areas. You're going to find out that you've got enough to either get the 900 hours in 4 of the 6 or 3,600 of the 7,500 total. I would encourage you to consider first, do you know what the knowledge areas are? Are you comfortable and familiar enough with the knowledge areas to kind of be able to say, this is this particular knowledge area?
Well, I'm starting to look at them, but the more that I read of them, the more that I say, well, I did this, I've done that. I'm still going through the BABOK, but
right. Yeah. You've done this stuff. Most of this stuff is stuff that you've done, even if you didn't have the title. So, planning and monitoring, this is planning your work. Elicitation and collaboration, every meeting that you've had, every time that you had to do an analysis on a document, this is elicitation. Requirements lifecycle management, it's okay, I'm going to document it here, I'm going to get it validated, we're going to get it implemented, we're going to go through the testing. You've done all that. So I would encourage you to do this. Figure out how you're going to break down the last 10 years of work. If you want to do it by job, if you want to break those jobs into, these were all the projects that I did for the not-for-profit. These are all the projects that I did that we were moving data from one database to another. Just kind of chunk them together and then say, okay, for that one, what percentage did I drop into each of these buckets? I would suggest you use a spreadsheet. And then you're going to be able to kind of see, where can I really say I have enough experience that I can put on the application and be able to make your application.
Cool.
Okay? Because you saw both the CCBA and the CBAP have all of the same information that you have to learn. You just have to learn it more deeply for the CBAP. Because, as I said, it's a paragraph that says, John was a new BA at the bank and they did this and this and they implemented this and somebody had coffee that day. I mean, they tell you stuff that doesn't make any sense, but they're trying to throw you off. And then they did testing and they found out that the solution didn't fully meet. I mean, it's a whole paragraph. And then they'll have the question, whenever John did testing, which of these methods were most appropriate for his situation, and they'll give you, the list of methods. It's the same questions, except it's a more complicated format between the CCBA and the CBAP. Now, the ECBA, it's super easy, but seriously, you're going to spend the money, you're going to put in the time, you might as well go for the one that's going to give you the most credibility. You've got enough time on the job I think you could do it. And it's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do, but chunk down your resume into the different knowledge areas, and then that'll tell you what you really have time for for the
Okay.
application.
And so if I do my spreadsheet with all the things,
Mhm.
then what's the next step? So there's a form to fill in to do the CBAP.
There's a template that you can use for that, but get your spreadsheet out and be sure that you've got your number of hours. Let me go back up to that slide. Yeah. So 904 of the 6, or this is 902 of the 6, 504 of the 6. So this is going to tell you which test you're going to take.
Okay.
And
Cool.
if you want me to look over it or answer questions or whatever, I'm happy to.
Okay. No, I'll put my goal of building that spreadsheet. Thank you, Thea.
You are very welcome. I'll tell you, most people have the problem of going to the resume and going, well, that wasn't anything important, but you've got to look at it. Honestly, look at your own resume as though you're not looking at your own. Say, you're looking at my resume. Pretend like it's my resume, okay? And say, if Thea were doing that, what would I want her to take credit for?
Yeah.
Because you treat yourself differently than you treat other people. So kind of step outside of yourself and be logical on what was the task actually done according to the BABOK, and is it something that I could explain in a way that they would understand that it was actually according to the BABOK in that knowledge area.
Yep. Cool.
You're going to rock
Thank
this.
you. And then the
Okay.
other part is the professional development, 35 hours that I should log all the hours that I did with you. I've done it from the beginning of the year, so probably done a good fair amount.
You've probably done a fair amount. And if you look in the workbook for both, I think the CCBA and the CBAP, if you look in the workbook, you've got hours that are learning on your own. You've got hours that are learning with other people. And I think there's a third category. I don't remember what it is right now. But you will be able to get hours in ways that are surprising. Maybe there's 5
Okay.
ways. I haven't looked at that lately. Robert, do you remember the other ways that you can get professional development credit? Okay. So do that, Andrea. Reach out if you want to talk before next week, and I'll do whatever I can to help, okay?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Bob.
Jillian has a bunch of questions.
Oh, goodness. I wasn't looking at chat. Thank you. Yeah, there are a few questions in there, aren't there? Okay. We scroll up. Just wanted to ask, in the actual test, I think you said there was an option to close the test. I may not have heard that correctly. If you decided you're going to give up, I guess you could close the test. I don't know what other reason there would be to close the test before you finish all the questions. I think it's just one of those fail safes that they have. You know, if somebody just gets up and walks out, they have a way to close out that computer. It's not something I would suggest that you're ever going to need. Julian says, I'm taking the ECBA. I've never taken a test. Do you have to log hours for the ECBA? Well, you need 21 hours over the last 4 years. And these hours that you're in the study group do qualify as 1 hour per study group. So all of your participation here counts. 4 hours in August, would you suggest waiting until next year? Just go for the CBAP or get the ECBA this year? I would actually suggest you do the CCBA for 4 years. Unless you feel like you've actually done business analysis before you had the business analysis title, And I'm going to tell you, if you've ever worked for a not-for-profit, if you've ever volunteered, if you've ever done retail sales, if you've ever done any kind of analysis of any kind, if you've ever babysat, you've been doing business analysis. And I'm not going to say jump to the CBAP necessarily, but really evaluate, do you have the experience in those knowledge areas? And as you learn the knowledge areas, you're going to be able to say, I did that. We didn't call it that. We didn't use the fancy words, but it was the same thing. If you did it, take the credit for it because you have that experience and you can pull for it. I've been a main developer for 2 projects, so as my job, and I would think it would be good for the knowledge areas once I break it out. As a developer, Julian, I'm sorry, Tamara, did you gather requirements? Did you do the demos? Those things would be qualifying as business analysis work. Gathering the requirements themselves or doing the demos and saying, this is what we did that met the requirements. That's part of business analysis. Let's see. I think that's all. Any other questions? We've got a good amount of time, so I'm happy to take some questions, folks.
What is the part of the application that when we submit to IIBA, do they look at the stuff that you have recorded on the IIBA website? Like I've been putting all my work experience and everything, but now it's locked because it's over 7 days. I did that like last year. So would they look at all those information when they look at my application?
You said that you put in your information in an application previously and now it's locked?
No, so on the once you create an IIB account, you can log your experience and then education and everything else that is required as part of the application. So when you actually submit the application for the test, do they look at all those things that you have already logged onto the application or on the account?
I think that they actually go back and look at your account. I think they actually just look at your application. Is that what you're asking, Ashish?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Your
now I cannot
application,
edit anything, whatever I logged in my account, because it's
I would,
like you cannot do anything after 7 days. It gets locked.
okay, I would suggest that you send an email to, I think
I
it's
did that.
info.
I did that and I have never received any response from them. So I'm kind of stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Send,
just want to add just to that. So I had
yes.
that issue when I was registering for my exam, because when I just registered for membership, I just put in something there. But when I started filling the information for my exam purposes, I was able to edit it, which was weird. So I think when you're registering, it gets different where you have to log your hours and assign values to it, say like all the let's say the knowledge areas. So I noticed I was able to edit it. So maybe it would change when you're ready to register for an exam. But I was unable to edit it at the very beginning. Yes.
During the application process, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Ashish, if you get to the situation where you're ready to put in your application, if you're having trouble and you can't get an answer from the IIBA using the email, they also have a phone number and they also have representatives that are like regional representatives that will kind of go in and help you get the information to them so that you can make the corrections.
Yeah, if I'm not able to edit the information at the time of application, then I will do that. I'll reach out to them and see if they can help me.
They've got several levels of redundancy of people that can help or ways that you can be helped if you get to that place. So reach out to me if you need to, but I'm confident that you'll be able to get it accomplished.
Thank you.
Okay, what other questions do we have?
I was just going to give Ashish some confidence. Just keep reaching out to him, Ashish. I ran into the same thing. And by the way, that 7-day period did follow me all the way through. I found that out in the beginning. I started filling out my application and I came back to change something and I was like, oh my God, I didn't mean to put this in this way. And that was when I first started it. And but I reached out to them more than once. They finally reached back out to me, assisted me, and I was able to update what I needed to do. But then after that, I just finished my application all the way through, knowing that once I put it in, make sure it's right.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I think it's important to know, and Carl, thank you for that encouragement. It's important to know that we can use a template offline to get all of our information organized before we put it in. That way we don't have to worry about trying to get it all figured out in 7 days. We figure it out offline and then put it in.
Right, that's exactly what I did. I used a template after that. I put everything in the template the way it was going to be in the IIBA, and I just took the time, sat down, and started, putting everything in from the template, basically. So anyway, just wanted to
If
say
anyone
that.
has
Thank you.
a link, thank you. If anyone has a link to the template, if you'll send it to me, I'll put it on our Google Drive so people can find it there, just in case they can't find it other ways. Okay, we're in our last few minutes. Do we have any questions? If we don't, I'm gonna bore y'all with a story. Okay, here comes the story. I applied and took the CBAP before. I was going through a hellacious time in my life, and I didn't pass it. And I felt like I just wasn't something I was supposed to do. And then I had people tell me, well, I can't be a good business analyst because I don't have a CBAP. And that made me angry, because you can be a really great business analyst without having letters after your name. But having letters after your name gives you a level of credibility that you're not going to get for some people's eyes. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, having a certification is only good under two conditions. Either it's important to you, or it's important to either your current or potentially future employer. I have had people tell me that they wanted to hire me, but I didn't have a college degree, and they rescinded the offer to hire me. I have not had the same experience with having a certification, but I do know that whenever it comes to, I've got two potential employees, and one of them has spent the time and effort to get a certification and the other one hasn't, it kind of makes the one with the certification stand out a bit. So we're working on getting a certification. So in coming to this class for this course to work through to get your certification, as you know, this is our 120th course in the study group. Life is not easy. There are going to be times that you're going to have troubles. Coming to this thing every Thursday night, I can do this no matter what else is going on in my life, because I know in this class, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to help people. I'm going to learn. I'm going to be with the people that I care about, and we're going to make it through this together. I encourage you to not give up and not say that this is going to be just something you don't want to do, because once we get through it and we get through November and we pass our certifications, it's all going to be worth it. So I'd like to encourage you to band together, do the work to study, get ready for chapters 1 and 2 for next week. Look at the recordings if you want to. Guys, one of them was our third meeting. We really weren't really sure what we were doing then. So give us some grace whenever you're watching these recordings. But look at those recordings, go through chapters 1 and 2, and I'm going to tell you, it's important that you read every single word, because everything after chapter 2 is built on chapters 1 and 2. I'm going to also tell you, here's the very front of the book, the back of the cover page. The things that are mentioned here, some of them are not mentioned anywhere else in the entire BABOK. It's important that you have a basic understanding of what they are. There's a thing in there called the Zachman framework. Zachman framework is kind of an awesome thing. It's not explained in the rest of the BABOK. You need to spend the time to at least Google it. Get a basic understanding of what each of those things are. The reason why is there could be a question on the test. Yes, Bob.
one of our guest speakers talked about the exactment framework, A, and B, I know a huge amount of people that have taken prep courses and paid a lot of money for different courses, and they never finished. So the vast majority of people that take the adaptive US's courses, which are great. We had Ellen speak a few weeks ago to us. They never even tried the exam. If you're going to go through that much trouble, take the darn exam. What's the worst that could happen? The
Right.
other thing, when I was doing my Six Sigma black belt, I took the third of the 3 courses, and a lot of people wouldn't do the little project. Like half the people that paid $4,000 for this course, and that was almost 10 years ago. I hate to think what they're charging now. Didn't even do the little project I knocked out in 4 hours in a hotel room. So if you're going to expend the effort to do all this stuff and attend these classes, definitely study, just do a couple hours a night and grind on it and sit for the exam and pass it. You can do it. Do not be afraid of it, and do not just let it slide.
Right. So we are going to meet every Thursday night. There's going to be a Thursday night that you're not going to be able to meet with us. Don't give up. We've got these recorded, guys. So you can catch up with us, and then you can join back in and build on. We are going to be going through the entire BABOK with not counting the techniques in probably 2 months, and we'll be done. But it requires that you watch those other recordings and make yourself as good as you can so that whenever you come, you can say, that's not the right answer because, and this is exactly what the BABOK says, because you're going to learn the language and the voice of the BABOK. So is there anybody that has any doubts that you can do this? Okay, I'm going to hold you to it.
If you have any questions, write to me and I'll try to help.
Awesome. We've got a lot of really knowledgeable and experienced folks in this team, in this group, and we're going to gather more along the way. I'm also teaching the Ireland chapter study group. I'm also teaching the Philippines chapter study group. We're all doing the same things, guys. Let's do it together, okay? I'll see you here next week. Read chapters 1 and 2. Watch the videos if you want to. After that, watching the videos is going to be more mandatory, but these are not as great. They might give you something you didn't have before, though. I'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye, guys.
All right, guys.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Bye. Tell other people
Thank
about
you.
us, too. Bye.
You should have one.